Imagine our world. Now erase the United States from the map, not just as a country, but as an idea. What if the American Revolution failed, and the dream of a new nation died before it began? The world would look radically different, maps redrawn, languages shifted, the balance of power forever altered. The influence we take for granted, from movies to technology, would vanish. Would the world be more peaceful or more dangerous, with other empires scrambling to fill the void? Let's rewind to the 18th century, where a group of rebels fights for independence. In this timeline, they lose. The British crush the rebellion. George Washington becomes a failed traitor, not a founding father. The 13 colonies remain under British rule, their destiny tied to the empire. This failed revolution is the stone that starts an avalanche, changing the fate of a continent and the world. The future unfolds in a new direction, with the United States never rising to power. Wars would be fought differently, technologies might never be invented, and the spread of democracy would slow. By removing this one nation, we see how interconnected our world truly is. So let's step through this wormhole, into a world without the United States. What would we find? A world missing a giant piece of its puzzle. The story of America is more than a nation. It's a force that shaped the modern age. Without it, the world's story is rewritten. Let's begin this journey and see what might have been. Welcome to a world without a superpower. The year is 1781. The cannons fall silent, not in victory, but in defeat for the American rebels. The British crush the uprising, capturing its leaders and reasserting control. There's no declaration of independence, no constitution, just colonies, still ruled from London. North America remains a patchwork of European empires. Media group, historical map of North America showing British, French and Spanish territories, painting of French Louisiana, Spanish soldiers in colonial attire at its stock, distribute equally, a grander British Canada, French Louisiana, Spanish Florida and California. The continent's fate is decided in distant palaces, not by its own people. Westward expansion slows, tightly controlled by imperial decree. The pioneer spirit is stifled. The Industrial Revolution's heart beats in Britain, not New England. America's resources enrich the empire, not a new nation. Without a successful revolution, the very idea of breaking free from empire is weakened. The French Revolution, inspired by America, might never ignite, or would take a different form. The world waits longer for the dream of self-government. The concept that ordinary people can rule themselves suffers a major setback. The American example is erased, and the world's political evolution stalls. The continent remains a chessboard for European powers. The dream of liberty is deferred, and history's course is forever changed. The world must wait for another spark. Fast forward to the early 20th century, Europe is at war. In our world, American troops and industry tipped the balance in World War I, but here there are no American reinforcements, no endless supplies. The war drags on, bloodier and longer, with no clear victor. Germany might win, redrawing Europe's map, or the conflict could end in a bitter, ruinous stalemate. The peace, if it comes, is dictated by old empires, no idealistic American voice, no League of Nations. The seeds for future conflict are sown deeper. Economically, the world suffers. There's no American money to rebuild Europe. The global depression is deeper, longer, and more devastating. Britain, even if victorious, is financially ruined. The Roaring Twenties never roar. Instead, the world limps through a decade of hardship. The absence of American power leaves Europe poorer, more unstable and divided. The world's economic center never shifts across the Atlantic. The scars of war fester, setting the stage for even darker times. The world is left searching for hope. The unresolved tensions of the First War lead to another, World War II. In this world there's no American arsenal, no Lend-Lease, no D-Day. Britain stands alone, its resources stretched to the breaking point. Without American aid, the Battle of Britain may be lost. Nazi invasion becomes a real threat. In the East, the Soviet Union fights desperately, but without American supplies its chances dwindle. A Nazi empire from the Atlantic to the Urals becomes possible. In Asia, Japan expands unchecked. No Pearl Harbor, no US Pacific Fleet to stop them. China fights alone. Australia and India are threatened. There's no atomic bomb, no sudden end. Just years of grinding, bloody attrition. The Axis powers might win, or the world is left in endless conflict. The war's end is uncertain, but the world is darker, more brutal. The absence of the United States tips the scales toward tyranny. The global order is shattered, and hope is in short supply. The world's fate hangs in the balance, with freedom on the brink. The shadow of totalitarianism stretches across continents. The world is forever changed. With the US absent, the 20th century belongs to others. If the Axis win, the world is divided between Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan. Democracy crushed, oppression rampant. If the Allies win without America, the Soviet Union dominates Europe, its influence unchecked. The Iron Curtain falls across the English Channel. All of Europe becomes a Soviet sphere. There's no NATO, no American-led alliances to counterbalance tyranny. International relations are chaotic, with empires clashing and no stabilizing force. Global institutions like the UN and World Bank are weak, lacking American leadership and funding. The US dollar never becomes the world's currency. Trade is fragmented, regional. Globalization stalls, prosperity is limited, the world is more disconnected, less secure and less free. The American security framework that prevented World War never exists. The world is left to the whims of empires and ideologies. The dream of a peaceful, united world fades. Without America, global culture is unrecognizable. No Hollywood, film's epicenter shifts to France or Germany, telling different stories, reflecting different values. No jazz, blues, rock, or hip-hop. Music's evolution follows other paths, shaped by Europe or Latin America. The cultural rebellion of the 20th century never ignites. English is still important, but not the world's dominant language. French, German, or Russian might take its place. Communication is fragmented, with no single global tongue. Iconic brands like Coca-Cola, McDonald's, and Nike never become global symbols. Consumer culture is local, not universal. Jeans and t-shirts remain regional quirks, not a global uniform. The world is more diverse but less connected. There's no shared pop culture, no common shorthand. Local traditions thrive, but the global imagination is smaller. The world feels both richer in variety and poorer in unity. Technology's revolution slows without America. No Silicon Valley, no Apple, Microsoft, or Google. The personal computer remains a niche tool, not a household staple. The internet stays a closed network for academics and the military. The World Wide Web never explodes into daily life. Scientific progress is slower, business and communication lag behind. No social media, no instant global connections. The spirit of innovation, risk-taking, challenging the status quo, never becomes a global model. The digital age is delayed by decades. Medicine, science, and exploration advance at a crawl. The world feels older, slower, and less full of possibility. The spark of American innovation is missing. The American experiment inspired the world with its ideals of equality and liberty. Without it, democracy spreads more slowly, and revolutions for self-rule are rarer. The civil rights movement never becomes a global beacon. Anti-apartheid and pro-democracy movements lose a powerful example. The world misses both America's ideals and its contradictions. No CIA coups, but also no global debate on freedom and justice. Some nations might find peace without US interference, but the push for liberty is weaker. The tension between American ideals and reality, which shaped global political thought, is absent. The conversation about human rights is quieter, less urgent. The dream of freedom is more distant, harder to reach. The world's struggle for justice is lonelier. The absence of America leaves a void in the fight for democracy. The global march toward liberty slows. Would a world without the United States be better or worse? There's no simple answer. Without a superpower, some wars and interventions might be avoided, local cultures might thrive. The environment could be healthier without America's consumer economy. But the shadows are deep. Nazism or Soviet communism might triumph, plunging billions into tyranny. Scientific and technological progress slows. The digital revolution and space exploration are stunted. The global economy is less integrated, prosperity limited. The powerful idea that government serves the people loses its champion. The fight for democracy and equality is harder, lonelier. The restless, optimistic energy that inspired generations is missing. This journey through an alternate world reminds us, history is not inevitable. The United States shaped our reality for better and worse. By imagining its absence, we see our world more clearly, and ask what kind of future we want to build. What do you think our world would truly be like if that revolution had failed so long ago?